In this Patreon requested build, I'm bringing you a supportive multi-class build ready to help your teammates answer the call of the Netherdeep that features a powerful and well-known combo that will help keep your abilities fueled. Hey everyone, welcome to Dungeoneers Pack. This is Josh and thank you for watching. I want to give a huge thank you to patron Dungeoneer Philip D for this build request. Thank you for your continued support of the channel. If you would like to submit a request for a character build or want a character sheet for this or other builds, become a Dungeoneer and support the channel on Patreon. You can find a link to the Patreon in the description below. Before jumping into the build, here are some things to keep in mind. I'm going to focus on levels 1 to 10 as most campaigns are played in this level range, and builds on this channel are built with a focus on the concept, but also will be viable for combat and roleplay. The concept behind this character is that we are playing a chosen of the Archeart, the god of Fey and magic. Feeling the weight of being between worlds, they travel Exandria trying to bring joy and beauty wherever they go while trying to forge their own path. With the concept in place, there are two goals for this build. This build will be geared towards a social pillar of the game. The goal is to have you take center stage, able to smooth talk any merchant, avoid an unnecessary hostile encounter, or instigate a tavern brawl if that's your thing. The last goal is that our combat abilities will be aimed at supporting our allies to make them shine, whether it's crowd controlling our enemies, buffing our allies, or popping off a healing spell to keep our teammates in the fight. For our ability scores, prioritize charisma as it's integral for all our features and abilities for this build. This character has a magnetic presence that's almost supernatural. Follow that up with constitution for a sturdy amount of hit points, then choose dexterity for our armor class and initiative. This character is graceful in their movements. Next is wisdom, as they will rely on their instinct and perceptiveness to get by. They fly by the seat of their emotions, taking action based on how they feel. Follow this up with intelligence, and strength is their dump stat. When it comes to this build's race, half-elf is perfect. Thematically, they are caught between two worlds and tend to be naturally social. Our half-elf will have one foot in the Feywild or with the elves of Singorn, and the other foot will be in the material plane, trying to find an identity of their own in Exandria. Being a half-elf lets us add a +2 into charisma and a +1 into two other stats of our choice. We gain dark vision and the Fey ancestry trait, which represents this character's Fey ties. They have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put them to sleep. The base half-elf also lets us pick two skills of our choice, and I went with persuasion and insight. Persuasion is our go-to skill to negotiate with a variety of NPCs. Insight is also integral as it will clue us in on the emotions of NPCs we are talking to, so we have a better idea of how to approach them. My background choice for this build is Entertainer to further delve into our ability to be the party face, but it also represents the way this half-elf is trying to find a place for themselves in the world. Entertainer gives us proficiency with the acrobatics and performance skills, a disguise kit, and a musical instrument of our choice. The combination of these proficiencies can help your character distract a crowd to help your allies sneak away or make some coin on your downtime. Jumping into the level breakdown, starting at level 1, we will be taking a level dip into the Warlock class. The most notable proficiencies from the class will be light armor and with the deception and intimidation skills. Deception and intimidation round out our social skills. We are not only able to smooth things over with persuasion, we can trick or put a little fear into NPCs we are talking to. As a Warlock, we can choose our subclass at level 1, and I went with the Archfey Patron, tying us directly to the Feywild. With this subclass, we get an expanded spell list, but we will not have full access to all the spells due to taking a small dip into Warlock. We only have access to Fairy Fire and Sleep. Fey Presence is our second subclass feature, which will have us making an impact on the crowd. As an action, creatures in a 10-foot cube around us can be charmed or feared depending on which option we choose if they fail a wisdom saving throw. We can use this feature again after a short or long rest. Last but not least, we can start casting spells with pack magic, and here are my recommendations. Eldritch Blast is our go-to damage option, Minor Illusion to help us distract and trick our enemies, Armor of Agathis has a minor form of protection, granting us temporary hit points which will increase our survival rate in the earlier levels, and Fairy Fire from our expanded spell list to light up our enemies and grant our allies advantage on their attacks. With level 2, we begin our dive into the Sorcerer, and just like the Warlock, we can pick our subclass. As requested by Philip D, I'm going with Divine Soul, which ties our character not only through a pact with the god of the Fae, it's in their blood. Divine Soul gives us the divine magic and favored by the gods features. Divine magic gets an additional spell depending on the god's alignment, and according to Taldor Reborn, the Archeart is chaotic good. Choosing the good alignment, we get access to cure wounds. Divine magic also grants us the additional benefit of being able to choose cleric spells to add to our spell list whenever we learn a sorcerer spell. Favored by the gods feels like our character has been blessed by the Archeart, having us turn a potential failure into a success. When we fail a saving throw or miss an attack roll, we can roll 2d4 and add the result to the total. We can use it again after a short or long rest. We gain more spells as a sorcerer, and here are my suggestions. For cantrips, guidance from the cleric spell list has a small bonus to help an ally, light, mage hand, and message. For our first level spells, Bless as one of our go-to concentration spells in the early levels to help our allies overcome saving throws and get damage through. Charm Person and Comprehend Languages to help us in social encounters. Disguise Self, Guiding Bolt as a reliable blasting option. Healing Word to be able to get our allies up if they are out of reach of a cure wounds. Silent Image, and Silvery Barbs. At level 3, we are sticking with the Sorcerer, and we gain the Fauna Magic feature. Fauna Magic grants us 2 sorcery points, which we can spend at this point to recover spell slots. We can also convert our spell slots into sorcery points, which will fuel features I will get to in just just a bit. Fauna Magic in combination with Pack Magic provides a powerful and well-known combo in 5th edition. Referred to as coffeelock, here's a quick rundown of how this combo works. We can convert our Warlock spell slots into sorcery points, then convert those points into spell slots. All we have to do is take a short rest to recover those Warlock spell slots, and we can repeat this loop. It could be a disruptive interaction at your table, but it's something to be aware of so that you can use your best judgment or speak with your DM to make a decision on whether this will take away from everyone's fun at the table. Next, at level 4, we are still on the sorcerer train, and we pick up the meta magic feature, which will allow us to manipulate our spells, and we can also start casting second level spells. For this build's meta magic options, I chose Quicken Spell and Twin Spell. Twin Spell will allow us to cast a spell that targets a single creature on 2 instead. This will allow us to toss out double guiding bolts, keep 2 targets held with hold person, or turn 2 targets large with enlarge reduce. Speaking of spells, here are my suggestions for second level spells. Enhance ability and enlarge reduce as ways to buff our allies. Hold person and web as crowd control options. Nathera's Mischief is another crowd control option to consider with a Feywild spin. Mirror Image and Misty Step as defensive options. Invisibility and Phantasmal Force playing into the trickery aspect of the Fey. Shatter and Spiritual Weapon round out this list for some damage options. For level 5, we have the option between an ability score increase or a feat, and I went with the feat choosing Resilient. Resilient gives us a +1 to an ability score of our choice and proficiency in its saving throws. I went with Constitution to help us with our concentration checks and give a small boost to our hit points. With level 6, we are still a sorcerer, so we can cast 3rd level spells, and here are my suggestions. Aura Vitality to turn ourselves into a beacon of healing to keep our allies up. Mass Healing Word is another option that doesn't require your concentration. Counterspell and Dispel Magic to fight off enemy spellcasters. Enemies are bound to have an enemy lash out fighting anyone that crosses it. Fireball because Fireball, Fly, Haste, Hypnotic Pattern, Revivify, Sending, Slow, Spirit Guardians, and Tongues. When we hit level 7, we will be taking our final level in a Warlock so we can pick up some Eldritch Invocations. I went with 2 options to upgrade our Eldritch Blast cantrip into a control tool, Lancet Lethargy and Repelling Blast. Lancet Lethargy slows down one target hit with our Eldritch Blast, taking away 10 feet of their movement for the turn. Repelling Blast adds insult to injury, pushing back anyone hit by our Eldritch Blast by 10 feet as well. With both of these invocations, a single target will not only lose 10 feet of their movement, they will be pushed back another 10 feet on that same blast. At level 8, we return back to the Sorcerer for the rest of this build, and we gain the Empowered Healing feature from our subclass. With Empowered Healing, we will be able to use sorcery points whenever we cast a healing spell on an ally right next to us. Spending that sorcery point will allow us to reroll any number of dice in the spell. We can only use this feature once per turn. Hitting level 9, we can cast 4th level spells, and here are my suggestions. Aura of Purity, Banishment, Charm Monster, Confusion, Death Ward, Dimension Door, Divination, Freedom of Movement, Greater Invisibility, and Polymorph. And finally, for level 10, we have the option between an ability score increase or a feat again, and I went with the ability score choosing Charisma to boost our spell attack bonus, spell save DC, and social skills. Now for our pros and cons. For our pros, through magic and our charisma based skills, we make a solid party face. We won't be on par with the bard or rogue expertise levels, but with a strong enough score and advantage gained through our enchantment spells, we will be just fine. Having access to the entire cleric spell list on top of our sorcerer list provides an incredible amount of supportive options that become even better with the use of meta magic. The combination of warlock and sorcerer is powerful due to how pack magic and fauna magic interact. This will keep you casting spells a lot longer than other members in your team. Now for our cons. Even though this was a pro, the combination of warlock and sorcerer could be too powerful due to how pack magic and fauna magic interact. Being able to constantly run off a short rest to maintain a good chunk of your spell slots could make the game unfun for your table or make encounters rough to balance for your DM. As mentioned earlier in the video, speak with your DM to find a solution. As usual, when multiclassing a spellcaster, we will be putting our spell progression a bit behind. We will be trading higher levels of spells for utility. And the last con is that our defenses will not be too great. We need to put ourselves in the back line to stay safe. With that said, I want to hear from you. What warlock and sorcerer subclasses would you multiclass together? Let me know down in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Alright, I'm out of here. Have a good one.